I lifted off the sheets with a stick.
Okay. Right over here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
On June 11th, 2018, in the quiet community of Silver Springs, Florida, a man's daily walk on a local trail led to one of the most horrifying sights ever witnessed in the area.
Yeah, go ahead and call major cause.
Oh yeah, there's such possible dismemberment. No, I'm not getting in there to do all that.
What deputies discovered beneath those sheets wasn't something any sane human or even animal would be capable of doing. The gruesome sight was enough to launch an investigation that crossed state lines, requiring cooperation from officers around the country. Police didn't know it yet, but this discovery was really the opening act for a twisted tale of betrayal and a dark secret hidden in plain sight.
Come down here about closer. I come down here about 2:30. I read a place up here, and there were turkey buzzards. And I followed. They were on the trail here. And I saw them coming from the left, so I walked in and I saw what looked like a bunch of blankets piled up. And, I went back and I just came down here before I called you, and the curiosity got the best of me and I poked at the stick. We'll see.
This is Timothy Earhart, a regular at the Silver Springs Trail. While walking earlier that day, he noticed a pile of blankets covering something in the grass. Using his walking stick, Timothy moved the sheets. And underneath, he discovered something so appalling, his first reaction was to call 911.
How far back is it?
Right into the left there. I walked it frequently.
Okay.
I lifted off the sheets with a stick.
Okay.
And I saw buzzards coming up here.
Right over here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The gruesome sight they witnessed was missing arms, legs, and a head. Even longtime officers had a hard time getting it together.
Can't tell me that on the legs of area that cut too. Yeah, go ahead and call major cause.
Oh yeah, there's such possible dismemberment. No, I'm not getting in there to do all that.
It's real buzzards. No, sir, maybe once or twice. Usually I walk from the house down here a couple times a day.
Okay.
If they mow on 40, I would walk, go down, do the 118, do the square, but I haven't walked.
Right.
This afternoon I seen the turkey buzzards and they were coming out.
They were in the
They were
here.
coming from that area and I saw the blankets. So
Okay.
I said, it's been my understanding with them, if it's something big like a deer.
Right. Right. Okay.
After confirming that there was no foul play on the part of Timothy, investigators began looking deeper into the mystery woman. With the help of a forensics team, officers found some out-of-place items that piqued their curiosity. 2 rings, a glass Bud Light bottle, and a set of white-colored pebbles or stones around the body. While they seemed random at the time, these items did have significant reasons behind their appearance. Meanwhile, even though there was barely anything to go by when identifying the Jane Doe, officers also found a distinctive tattoo that depicted a robin redbreast bird on her shoulder. Through booking photos and information from law enforcement, the police were able to connect the body to a missing persons report that was filed on June 13, 2018 by the victim's friend. It was identified as belonging to 63-year-old Robin Lee Upson. What they found inside her home would raise even more questions about who Robin really was and who had been living in the shadows. Upon learning this information, they made their way to Robin's residence the next day. There, they found a woman named Virginia Kincaid tidying up the place. Virginia was the one who had filed a missing persons report on Robin, and she had gotten worried when her friend went missing with no communication on her whereabouts. She also confirmed that the distinctive tattoo was Robin's. Well, now that the police had someone close to the victim, they could finally begin to trace their steps towards a person of interest. In Robin's residence, they found her animals unattended, signs of a struggle, tree trimmings, and a stack of debris. The police also found a number of marijuana and drug-related paraphernalia throughout the house, a detail that could potentially explain certain aspects of Robin's behavior. More relevant, Robin's red and white Ford pickup truck was missing. To trace it, the investigators contacted Robin's mother, Lena Upson. From Lena, they learned about 43-year-old Christopher Takhvar, a handyman and friend of Robin's. Several weeks prior, Christopher had contacted Lena and told her that he had gotten into a heated argument with Robin. Following this, Christopher borrowed Lena's burgundy minivan to run some errands, but he hadn't returned it since then. The police set out to find the missing van and truck, but it was the victim's estranged daughter who would reveal something that changed the tone of the entire case. Over the course of their investigation, they spoke to several people, including Robin's daughter, Summer Orr.
You and your mom, is it a close relationship?
Yes and no. I mean, a question that I've dealt with since this happened. My mother, this has happened to my mother before. She wasn't dead when she was found.
I read the newspaper.
When she was younger, right?
When she was 19, 18?
When she was 19, 18,
Yeah.
19, and before she had me.
Right.
It was 2 weeks before my parents were to get married, and she went to go to get her wedding dress, and I don't know the story behind it. Either she picked up a hitchhiker, or he held a knife to her. From what I've heard, two different versions. And she was not a very outspoken person now, I'm more, I guess, headstrong than she is, because I'd be putting my seatbelt on and driving that car and go as fast as I could into a wall.
Yeah, yeah.
And, she was taken, and they found, I was told 2 bikers saw her body or found her body, didn't want to be blamed, so they just called the police and left an anonymous tip.
Right.
And they took her, put her in the hospital, and she was under the name of Jane Doe because they didn't know who she was.
Right.
And then I was told Boy Scouts came across her car she had been beaten the head with a tire iron, and that before that, the only thing she remembers is...
Summer gives the police some insight into Robin's personality and history. Robin's near-death experience left her with a traumatic brain injury, making her unable to raise Summer. It also made Robin a permanently disabled veteran. She was described as somewhat secretive, and most people around her found that she displayed poor judgment and instincts in the people that she associated with, as Summer explains further in the interview.
From what I've gathered from the few hours that I've spent with him, he's quiet, but then he seemed like not
Reserved.
Yeah, reserved. That way. And then that was when we were at PSET. Same thing, pretty much kind of when we were at the house the last time. It wasn't so quite reserved. It was more like reclusive. He would go back into the room, come out, smoke or do something, and then go back into the room like he was.
He was a little more vocal, goofed around with the kids, and that when he would come out, more open, more friendly, than we was when we first met him.
Do you know if your mom and him were romantically involved at all?
I have no clue. I never really.
Summer also informed the police that she had no idea that Christopher had lived with her mother. Due to her estrangement with Robin, there wasn't much info that she could provide. Still, they did learn from her that Christopher likely resided in Marshall, Texas. They also learned more about Christopher's business relationship with Robin. Apparently, they launched 2 ventures funded by Robin's finances.
And then also, I want to know if this individual, I know it's really weird, but I have a letter that I want to write.
Mm-hmm.
It's not spiteful or hateful. I want to write it, put it in a Bible, and would you or somebody be able to give it to this individual? Because they don't have them.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that will help. It will help me heal, I think. And it's what I'm supposed to do, even though I don't feel that way right now.
Right.
But I need to.
Right. No, I
And
understand.
that's what Chris wants me to do.
Yeah, I understand. If you have that with you, I'd be happy to lock it in my drawer. If it has something you want to send to me or bring to me before you leave, I'll lock it in the drawer. And when I'm with that person, then I'll be sure that you're okay.
With the information that had been gathered from Summer and other associates of Robin, the police expanded their investigation to find Christopher. They were able to track him through surveillance footage of Lena's van at a Walmart. Shortly after, he was arrested in Jefferson, Texas on August 15, 2018. The charge was for a stolen vehicle, but Christopher had no idea that the police were playing the long game. On August 20th, 2018, Christopher was interviewed by Detective Aaron Levy.
There's a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about. And I want to talk to you about Lena's van, obviously. Like I said, one of the things I want to talk to you about is the whole... First, you came from Hawaii to Bellevue, right? What prompted you to go from Hawaii?
Robin needed help with her and with her and her parents, like chores and miscellaneous stuff that needed done around the house. Hopefully the mom told you I was very helpful around making everything home.
Yeah, no. Actually, she said you were very helpful.
And that's primarily why I went out there. And the reason why I bought the vehicle was I had done some tree cutting, and Robin got upset with me. I don't know if mood swings or what, but she got upset with me about cutting down the second tree. She wanted me to stop and have a professional come in. Basically, she, for lack of better words, told me that she wanted me to get out of the house. I mean, that's a polite way of putting it. I mean, she threw off the hand. I don't know if you know Robin's history, but she... if you're talking about the head injury, I'm aware of that.
Chris starts off describing himself as a reluctant helper in Robin's life. Meanwhile, he describes her as unstable and unpredictable, especially given her drug use, suggesting that she might have been of unsound mind. He even explicitly referenced Robin's past arrest for assault and implied that she made quote-unquote bad choices about her associates. This perspective seems pretty far-fetched, but given the police's investigations, there was a good chance that Robin often got involved with some dangerous people with ulterior motives. Now, while Christopher tried to paint Robin as volatile and unpredictable due to her drug use, investigators found no evidence linking her drug use to the horrific crime. Instead, they recognized this as a common tactic used by perpetrators to deflect blame and muddy the waters, attempting to make the victim appear responsible for their own demise. Robin's personal struggles, while real, had no bearing on the brutal reality of what truly happened to her.
Just recently, she was on trial for assault on a peace officer. And that was a friend that she had staying at her house, same situation as mine, and she threw him and his stuff out. So the next morning, after she had told me to leave, she wasn't around, so I went to the mom's house and I said, look, can I borrow your car? Robin's not here, truck's not here. I need to, do some chores and take care of my stuff. And basically, honestly, what I planned to do was go down to the airport and have, some friends wire me an airplane ticket, which never happened. I ended up taking Greyhound from Orlando, but that's basically what happened, and it's completely unfortunate. Robin's mom gave me permission via Facebook Messenger.
And so one of her last texts to me, because I remember I was still in Hawaii, and she said, you can use the car whenever you want when you're here. And I was like, cool, that kind of alleviates, because I already knew how Robin was. I've been coming down there for about 4 years, 3 or 4 trips in 4 years. The last trip before this trip, I installed French doors in her house, picked up some of my belongings. I had some tattoo chairs and some other possessions and stuff at her house. And that's when Ben was there. And
Was Ben the guy you were talking about before?
yes, sir. And Ben, I warned her. I said, look, this guy is no good. Unfortunately, I don't still have the instant messenger message, but I had told her, because I remember flipping through trying to find it, because I was trying to screenshot it so I could give it to her as evidence for her case. Right. But he had made a threat on me. What happened was I've done laser removal for people for like 10 years, and I do it free for people, hands and feet. Well, when I was down in Florida, when me and Robin had the shot, Ben had come around and he wanted this demon lasered off his leg. And I'm like, oh, I got you, bro. Right. So I lasered this thing off his leg, and something happened where he got a hernia or something. He ended up in the ER. And the doctor saw the wound on his leg from the laser removal and basically told him he was going to need skin grafts. He was basically scarred for life, blah, 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 and just scared the shit out of him. And it's coming from a doctor, so he's not didn't understand. The doctor didn't understand. Correct. And so Ben came at me very, very hostile, very aggressive, basically threatened my life, told me he was going to cut my throat ear to ear. And, it scared me. I literally had no response. All I did was block him at that point. But I did forward Robin a copy of that message, and I was just... Was this on Facebook also? Or? Yes. Instant message, or the messenger, like the iPhone or something. No, through Facebook. Through Facebook. Okay. I believe he was going by Benny Goodson or Benny Blanco.
As Christopher goes into a lengthy tangent about Robin's alleged violent history, there are 2 things worth remembering here. He intentionally reinforces Robin as someone who engaged with dangerous social circles. And at the same time, he also highlights his own victimhood within these past conflicts. Now, while this could be true in some cases, it's hard to truly feel sorry when Christopher stands to benefit from such a narrative.
I was kind of forced to borrow the other vehicle, in my opinion, because I had no other options. And, in the sense that, in my head, Robin was willing to leave me out on the street, and it's raining outside, and it's warm weather at the time. So I was just like, I got to, kind of look out for my best interest at this point, and obviously that would be to just go back home with the wife, which didn't happen, unfortunately. So that's basically it, and I feel horrible that I didn't respond to the mom after she has her last text to me. She said she was calling the cops, and I'm like, what are you calling the cops for? You gave me permission.
And the way she explained it to me was she told you, that you went to her, said, hey, Robin's kicking me out. She's got the truck. Can I borrow the van? And she told me, she told you, yes, just have it back before dark.
Yes.
That's what she told you. Yeah. And so when you left, I think she told me you told her you'd been in Leesburg, looking for a place to stay.
Yes.
And when you weren't responding to her and didn't bring it back, that's when she felt you had stolen it. And if where'd you leave the van?
Orlando.
Right.
And I kind of panicked. After I couldn't get a plane ticket, and I only had enough money to get a bus ticket, I figured the best thing to do would just be leave the keys in the van, and unfortunately I never made the call and said, hey, this is where your van is. I probably should have. I left the keys on the door on the outside.
Christopher's story about the van contrasts with what we know from Robin's mother. Yet that wasn't the only detail that didn't add up. According to Lena, Christopher had borrowed the van with a promise to return it, but she never heard from him since then. The van initially feels like a small part of a larger incident, but when we look closer, it serves as a real test of Christopher's character. Let's assume that Robin is as bad as he says she is. Well, what does her danger have to do with him essentially stealing Lena's van? His story is also inconsistent with the facts that are possessed by Detective Levy, showing that his words are not worth trusting. If he claims not to remember leaving the keys, what else could his faulty memory be hiding?
So the relationship with Robin was more platonic, more business relationship, more friendly, romantic, and what kind of? It was a friendly relationship. Friendly relationship. Okay. Was she content with that? Did she want more than friendship, or no? Okay. She wasn't content with it. She wasn't content. Did she want it to go further than what it went? Yeah, and she pushed that issue in the time. She come on to you, or just talk to you, or probably a little of those. Yeah. Yeah. You guys never really uncomfortable. What's that? You guys never romantic? No. But I talked, and then I made it very clear to the mom and dad that we were not. I think she tried to convince them that we were, and I had to make that very clear to them. Okay. Me and Robin tried to get a tattoo shot done, didn't you? We did. Yeah, what was that called? It was called, God, what was it called? Oh, Zen Tattoo. Basically, that was a nightmare in itself. That's where I met Robert. I think that's where she met Robert. We ran into place. I busted my ass, got it all. I basically ripped out an entire kitchen in an ex-pizza place. So it's disgusting, a lot of grease, just hugely intense amount of work. I probably did $20,000 worth of work. Well, first one it's rent to do, Robin doesn't want to pay rent. And the agreement originally was Maui Wowie product would help suffice the cost of the rent and stuff. And unfortunately, we didn't even get our order till after the first month's rent was due. Right. So that wasn't really even an option. I think even the third month's rent was due by the time. I mean, we were getting evicted, I think, by the time we even got product. Shit happens in shipping and manufacturing and stuff. Anyways, Robin threw a hissy fit and basically wrote the landlords and told them to F off, and she wasn't going to pay him a dime. And I was blown away, but it was her money, so I'm like, do what you got to do, But we already got this money invested. Now we're looking at a headache. So this is kind of crazy. So they locked us out, and they locked us out illegally. Right. And meaning they didn't give us any notice or anything. Right. And Robin kind of ordered me to get in the studio and retrieve the stuff. Right. And I had already loaded up my chairs and all that stuff. The only thing that was really left was like the computer and the TV and some small miscellaneous stuff, but it still was enough. It was $1,000 or so worth of stuff. Right. And she basically ordered me to go in there and retrieve the stuff. So I, took a hammer and broke the window and unlocked it, reached around, unlocked the door, and walked through, opened it, and walked all the way through. She met me around the backside and loaded up the truck and we're gone. Well, I guess they had me on camera, and the detective came by and talked to me. And, I explained the situation. And I'm like, bottom line is, bro, she's a retired vet. Right. And you guys, they're basically picking on us because we don't have enough money to defend ourselves legally.
They didn't give you notice either. They can't really lock you out.
They did. Yeah, they did. And it was a full-on sheriff's notice. I'm like, I don't know how they're doing this. Anyways, so he agreed. And he said, I'm not going to press charges. The detective said that? Yeah. He said, the city's not going to press charges. Right. And I guess the county DA, they called Robin and said, you're going to pay for the window. Mm-hmm. And Robin said, we'll pay for it, but when I'm good and ready, or, try to give her attitude. And the DA said, no, you're going to pay for it now, right, or we're going to issue a warrant for Mr. Takhvar. So she had to pay. But, it is what it is. But, I mean, like I said, that's kind of why I wash my hands, is like one incident after another.
From this retelling of the tattoo shop collapse, Christopher's story has some holes in it. Why would someone fund a business only to sabotage it?
Wow. So, were you indebted to Robert at all? Did you owe any money to her?
I consider we still owe her.
How much?
Well, the company still owes her. The original loan was like $16,000, something like that.
Yeah. Is that where it's still at there? About $16,000 is what she was owed.
Yeah, we had agreed that's
that'd be fair.
Yeah, I believe at some point it got up higher than that.
Yeah.
But I had come down and done work, right, and whatnot, and at some point I had signed over, basically, not signed over, but released or whatever, the control of the company to my partners. And, they now have that.
Christopher's $16,000 debt provided investigators with a concrete financial motive for his resentment towards Robin. However, his lack of documentation regarding this debt raised a red flag. The failure of their joint ventures, funded by Robin, coupled with his dependence on her and the mounting debt, likely became a crushing blow to his ego. He perceived these setbacks, and Robin's perceived role in them, not just as financial burdens, but as profound personal disrespect that made him feel small.
Well, obviously, I'm not here just for a story. So, I'm sure you would think it'd be kind of unusual for somebody to fly from Florida to Texas to talk to you about a stolen thing.
I've seen some interesting things in my time.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm working on homicide.
Okay, who's homicide?
Robin's. And because you're the last one that I can put with her, I need to really get information from you to see where I need to focus my investigation. To see if you have any clues as to what happened, anybody who may be involved. But I need you to be as upfront with me as you can about what happened prior to you leaving. So Robin's mom is beside herself. Some of her and her kids are beside themselves, and they want some answers as to what happened to Robin.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that you'll be able to give me some ideas. I'd like to be able to give them some closure so they can understand what happened. But I know with her truck, you had parked it at the Internet Cafe at 102 in 441.
I did. The video showed that you parking it on the side parking lot, getting out in a downpour of rain, crazy rain, and then just walking away. And so I'm kind of curious because that would have been after you said Robin left with the truck. So Chris, I mean, this woman I know, mentally she would get lost sometimes. And you were busting your butt to help her out. Okay. Is that, you saying you don't want to talk to me anymore? Or do you want to hear what I have to say? It's totally up to you. If you want an attorney, then I'll hear what you have to say. Okay. I want to be able to give her some closure, her family some closure. Okay? And the only way I can do that is through you. And I've looked into you, I've looked into your history from as much as I can, without actually talking to you. And from what I can see, you look like somebody that's trying to do the best they can to make a legal buck. I don't see you out there robbing and stealing and trying to hurt anybody. I see you trying to bust fucking drug dealers that raise their families. Yeah. And I don't even get to see my fucking kids. Yeah. You only got 3 kids, right? Christopher, Krista, and Hannah Christina, right? Your kids. And so the big picture of what I see as Chris is a pretty decent guy. That's down on his luck, but busting his ass trying to legally make a buck, and maybe saw an opportunity for something that was one day going to get him pretty rich, which I wouldn't blame anybody. Trying to make everybody rich. Yeah, right. Trying to get everybody to buy into this because he truly believed this was something that was going to flourish and benefit everyone. And I feel like something happened that was just totally out of character for Chris. And nobody can make sense of it. And that's why I came from Florida to Texas to talk to you. Because from what I could see, you look like, you're not some young punk that I'd be dealing with on the street. You're a smart guy. You're my age. So you're not somebody I'm going to sit here and pull the wool over your eyes. But you look like I probably need to talk to the lawyer. That's, yeah. Okay. If you want to talk to an attorney, if you're telling me you want an attorney, I can't ask you any more questions. You want to talk to him, Chris? Yeah, I would like to know where. I can't tell you what, if you're asking if you want to know the outcome, I can't tell you the outcome myself. I need you to fill in that blank form. I felt in my gut that you were going to be honest with me. Because looking at what I could of Chris Takhvar, he's a pretty upstanding guy. But you're honest, you're hardworking. Something happened that made Chris do something that is out of character. And that's the answer that I need from you. I don't want somebody else filling in the blanks for Chris. I don't want him filling the blanks for Chris. I don't want to guess. I want Chris to tell me. Like I said, your mom believes no matter what. So it was after the second tree? Your sister always started yelling at me. I was in the back porch, smoking a cigarette.
Christopher claims that Robin became upset with him while cutting trees out in the yard. spurring an argument that led to him getting kicked out of the house.
She got no shirt and knife. She fucking knife. She got violent. Came in. Unfortunately, I had a fucking chainsaw lying there. She came at you with a knife? So what happens when she comes and I said, you have a chainsaw in your head? I defend myself. We didn't like that. Fortunately, it was an electric chainsaw. Swung me at the button. Where did the chainsaw hit? The arm and the neck. This is on the back porch. That would be weird. Usually ended up in the living room at that point. So the chainsaw was on, or it was off? It was on. It was on. It was electric. Right. So the battery got plugged. So they hit the button, it was automatically turned on. When they hit her neck, did she die right there? In that position in the living room? So what happened after that? Figure out how to fix it. So you said you had to find out how to fix it. So what did you do? What would you do? I don't know. I freaked out, Bob. I wouldn't have a clue. I'd try to be thinking the same thing you're doing. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? He's going to believe me when, you know?
For someone claiming that this was all a mistake, the visceral levels of violence at play are chilling.
After she died, did you go to Walmart after that? Is that where you purchased the saws off? And tell me where all that took place at the saws off. The garage. What did you do with my limbs for that? We're going to use literature. Someone asked you with a freaking knife, Chris. What happened? Go ahead. And bury them in the backyard.
The detective asks Chris to draw where he buried Robin's body according to the house's layout.
So tell me what I'm looking at. What did you do with her torso? Don't believe me. Did you freeze it? Freeze it first? No, I tried to freeze it. I don't know what I was thinking, bro. I mean, I was freaking the fuck out, man. How'd you freeze it? Or try to freeze it? You freeze it. The freezers in our house, there's no way to put her torso. Yeah, no, I didn't freeze it.
Christopher attempted to freeze the torso by placing it in an igloo cooler, then transporting it in Lena Upson's van. But he wasn't able to recollect where he had dumped the cooler. He also denied having her torso in any type of bag. As for the white pebbles or stones that were found around her corpse, those were salt. Christopher had used this salt in an attempt to stop the bleeding after he butchered Robin. He claimed to have learned this from tattooing.
I have no doubt in my mind, Robin would have done something to those old people. They're not coming out with a month or two. What's that? I have no doubt in my mind Robin would have done something to the parents. Yeah. She was on her last. I think that head injury she had when she was 19 really messed her up. Yeah, my friend Marion warned me about that. I always treated her with respect. She had gotten violent with me several times. Yeah. Even this last time I was there, she got violent with me a couple times before that. Throwing fits. And I'm just like, dude, don't throw shit at me. Don't Don't attack me. Just leave me alone. If you want to scream at me, cool, but you don't need to get physical with me. And I don't know, she just felt more empowered and she had a fucking knife in her hand. It definitely threw me off. And the only thing I'm taking is maybe this time she's really going to try and do something. I just kind of pushed away with chainsaw. That's it. It's the green one, wasn't it? Have you met Summer before?
A man of his word, Detective Levy hands over Summer's letter to Christopher.
I don't. What's that? I don't want to talk to her. Would you want to write anything to her? What am I going to tell her? The reason I asked was Summer wanted me to give this to you. She bought this. She wrote it up. And she said, when you talk to Chris, would you please give this to her? And I told her I would. She says, she doesn't know details either. She just knows her mother's dead. And she said, as hard as it is for her, she knows she needs to forgive you. She says she feels you need Christ in your life. And she wanted you to have this. And I told her I'd tell you that. If she forgives you, I would think that would mean something to you. That's probably something you wouldn't expect. But she said, as a Christian, she has to forgive you because we're all sinners, is what she said. Well, yeah. I don't think, if anybody's looking for a sin, but obviously, just remembering your body goes not very below. Right. Some coroners say they were going trees. So I told her I'd do that to you on the side. So I said, thank you. I will. And that's why I asked, is there anything you want to write back to her or anything you want me to tell her?
Christopher obliged to write a letter to Summer in return. The contents of that letter were never publicly revealed. Following this interview, Christopher was once again interviewed for a final time after being transported back to Florida.
Notes from when I talked to you out in Texas. And I want you to know that what you told me about where I would find Robin, she was right where you said, obviously. Her phone was in there, like you said it would be. But I wanted to clarify more of how everything happened, how it was she came at you, because when you told me that she came at you with a knife, but I didn't get a whole lot of details about that. You told me that you guys, tell me again, I know you guys have been outside working on the trees, right? Was Robin out there with you working on it?
No.
Okay. Where was Robin while you were working on the trees?
In the house and going to and fro wherever she was going, doing her stuff.
Okay.
And she had gotten back, and
when you say got back, was she away from the house? Was she out running errands or something? Or?
I don't know. I was in the back doing the trees, so in between being in her house and going to her mom's house and back and forth and stuff. And she had come out. I was on the porch, and she had come like to the door and screamed at me that she didn't want me to cut down any more trees and blah blah blah. She was in fear for my safety or some bullshit, and
When you say came to the door, you're sitting on the back porch. She came to the door that leads from the house to the porch, or from outside, the door that leads outside into the porch?
No, the house to the porch.
Right.
And she had went back in the kitchen, and I'm pretty sure she was in there sharpening the knife at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured, well, might as well just start cleaning up. So I had grabbed the chainsaw, and I had walked inside with the chainsaw, and she was still kind of, you know, upset. And I had walked past her, and then she was on the corner of like the kitchen and the dining room, and she had the knife in her hand, and she just kind of spazzed out and started screaming at me again, and had turned around, and I still had the chainsaw in my hand. And before I came into the house, I had checked the battery,
Mm-hmm.
but I had hit the start button instead of the battery button.
Right.
And
is there like a battery test button? Or
yeah, there's a battery test button and there's a start button, and I do believe I hit the start button. Obviously, I did instead of the battery button, which they both beep, so it let me know that it was charged. So I was like, well, fuck it, I'll just go put it away, and I was going to the garage to go put it away, and she was over here and I was over here.
Where's over here?
Kind of on the corner of, like, in front of that, there's like a little, it's not a hutch, it's like a little shelf cabinet thing. It had like...
In the living room?
Yeah, okay. In the living room area. And that was about where I had stopped where I was walking. I had turned around, and that's about where we had a confrontation. She had whirled around, and she was screaming at me, and she had a knife in her hand, and all I did was kind of put my arms up with the chainsaw, and unfortunately it
Christopher backtracks what he said in the previous interview, but the damage has already been done. The detective already has a motive. This interview is to erase any doubt that Christopher was responsible for Robin's death.
What did she do with the knife? How is she holding it? What did she do with it?
All I saw was the shine of the knife coming at me, honestly. Okay. And I had heard her sharpening it.
Right.
It was, I don't know if it was a fucking hobby of hers, but I mean, she sharpened her knives very frequently.
Right.
And, so I already had that in the back of my head that you know what I mean? And they're fucking with their knives again,
Right.
And, so when I went to obviously push her arms away with the knife, the chainsaw went off, and then at that point, somewhere, I mean, obviously, it was very fast, very, very chaotic, in my opinion. But at some point, we ended up on the bed,
right?
And at that point, obviously, her life had ceased to exist. It's kind of grossing me out just thinking.
I'm sure it's haunted you. I don't doubt that.
I mean, like I said, if you guys don't believe it was an accident, that's on you guys, bro. You know what I mean? I know in my heart what happened, and I already feel bad enough for my part in trying to hide a horrible accident. You know what I mean? And I can't really do anything about.
Was your plan to bury her torso originally?
There was no plan, sir.
Okay. I'm just.
I know she was sharpening a knife. There was a knife on the bed when it was said and done,
mm-hmm.
And other than that, I'm just horribly sorry that I should have
You know what you should have done?
Left.
You should have just called. I mean, you should have.
No, I should have just never went to fucking there from Hawaii to help her.
The final nail in Christopher's coffin. The detective throws him a final bone, and Christopher sticks to his own point of view. Christopher should have called, but instead of reflecting on what he claims was a mistake, he instead doubles down on his dislike for Robin. By doing this, the malicious nature of Christopher's actions remain unmistakable. Now, if you think this case was horrific, you need to check out my video on the guy who thought that he could get away with killing his date.